What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today we're reviewing the second 60th anniversary special, Wild Blue Yonder. So this was the episode that we pretty much knew nothing about going into it. We kind of knew the first episode was about Beep the Meep. We were pretty sure the third episode was about the Toymaker. We didn't really know anything at all about the second episode, and let's just say that it's definitely a weird one. There was a lot of very strange stuff going on in this episode. It was a very much, only two cast episode, with the exception of, what's his name? Isaac Newton, was it, at the start of the episode? Apart from that little cameo at the start, it was a Doctor and Donna only David and Catherine cast. That was it. So definitely an interesting episode. The sort of thing we've seen from Russell a lot, when he was on the show before. So yeah, definitely an interesting episode. Let's get started talking about the cast. So of course the complete cast really of this one was David Tennant and Catherine Tate. They were the whole cast, the good guys and the bad guys. So let's talk about them here because they really had to carry a lot here. I thought, no surprise, they were both amazing. David Tennant, doing both the Doctor stuff and the monster stuff. Same goes for Catherine Tate. I think they both did a very good job. There were a few little jokes in there that I quite liked. There were a few that I think were a little bit cringy, but on the most part, I did quite like it. And their performance, what else can I say? I can't fault either of their performances. They're so good. They are my favorite part of the show ever. So yeah, nothing bad to say there. Alright, so let's get on to some points about this episode. I'll be honest, I didn't write a whole lot of notes for this one because it was a little bit confusing. It was rather strange. I just didn't really know what to write down. So let's just go through what I've written down. So the TARDIS left without them. So they, of course, at the end of the last episode of the Star Beast, Donna spilt coffee on the TARDIS. It started going up in flames. This episode starts with them going to 1666, was it, and finding Isaac Newton. I don't really know the whole point of that, apart from the gravity-mavity thing, which we'll get to in a second. Other than that, I don't know if maybe something's going to come up in the next episode, because apart from that whole gravity-mavity thing, I don't understand why we saw Isaac Newton at the start of this episode. I'm sure that'll be explained in the next one, but yeah, other than that, they then crash on this spaceship. The TARDIS needs to be fixed, so the Doctor plugs the sonic screwdriver into the TARDIS, basically into the keyhole. They walk off because it's apparently going to go fix itself, but then it flies away because the Doctor left the HADS on, the Hostile Activation Displacement System or something like that, defense system I think, where basically if there's something bad going on, the TARDIS will leave, which I think is a very strange thing, but that is, it's a thing that has been mentioned in the past. The Doctor's turned it back on and it left them. So they were stranded on the ship without the TARDIS. And basically the Doctor said, we need to sort out what is making the TARDIS leave so that it will return and we can get out of here. So that's kind of the whole premise for the episode. They walk around the spaceship. There's stuff going on. So here's the whole gravity-mavity thing. The word gravity has changed to mavity. Now we don't get an explanation for this, and I'm guessing we must. Either I've missed something, I don't think I have, or this is going to get explained in the next episode. Because, they go to Isaac Newton, you know how it always happens in Doctor Who, and especially in kind of Russell's era as well, where they see a historic figure, they say something, and that person hasn't actually invented it yet, but that ends up being this interaction is where this thing that this person is known for came from. So the Doctor mentions something about gravity, or I think Donna might, I'm not 100% sure, and they fly away and he says to himself, what was that word? And he says mavity. He doesn't say gravity, so he must have heard it wrong. So he says mavity. And then all of a sudden throughout the episode, everybody's saying mavity instead of gravity, like it's normal. There's one moment where the Doctor says gravity, and Donna goes, what? And he says, oh, sorry, mavity. So he remembers it's gravity, but Donna doesn't. I'm surely this is going to get explained, but it was just a very strange thing because it kept getting brought up quite a lot. 'Cause they were talking about, they got in the spaceship, they're like, oh, well, at least there's mavity here, and it doesn't get questioned. And then the only time it gets questioned is when the Doctor says gravity, and he's like, oh, sorry, no, mavity. So very confusing, very strange. Yeah, I'm guessing we're going to get an explanation on that. The Doctor pretending to be poisoned. So that was a very funny moment, wasn't it? Where they're doing like that. They're in that like filing cabinet, getting those little slide things out. And there's like all goo all over him, and the Doctor like licks it because of course he does. And Donna's like, "Is it safe?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's fine." Then he starts like choking, and the music's like, "Dun dun dun," and it builds up. And then he's like, "Nah, I'm just joking. I'm fine." I thought that was hilarious. Great stuff. That's just peak David Tennant, Russell T Davies era Doctor Who stuff. I loved that very much. Monsters that take the form of the Doctor and Donna but can't control their size. So the monsters in this episode, very strange. Basically, they appear from these rooms where, well, actually no, I think the first time they appear is when the Doctor's in, or Donna's in the room with the filings things, filing all this stuff. The Doctor's gone to a room a bit further down with all this like water and stuff where he's trying to do something as well. And we keep flicking back, and I must say the editing in this is amazing. Like peak editing. This is so well edited. How it keeps flicking between, it keeps flicking between Donna with the Doctor, and then the Doctor with Donna in another room. And at first, because you don't know what's going on, I think it starts with the Doctor just, at one moment the Doctor's on his own doing his thing, and then we go to a scene with Donna, and all of a sudden the Doctor's now sat on the floor and talking to Donna. And it's like, oh, what's going on here? This seems a bit strange. And then we switch back to the real Doctor, and Donna walks in, and they start talking, and it's like, and then we just keep going backwards and forwards. It's like, there's something not right here. Something's very strange. It's very uneasy. And yeah, I just thought I really liked that scene. I'll be honest, I think the fake Doctor to me was a bit more believable than the fake Donna. The way Donna was talking just didn't sound like Donna. The way the Doctor was talking was a bit more like the Doctor, although he was sat there very like, creepily, and after a while you were like, oh, okay, something's not right here. But yeah, that whole thing was cool. But then the monsters themselves, yeah, basically they can't like control their size. So Donna comes in with one like giant arm, and the Doctor has two giant arms, and he's like dragging on the floor behind him, and then they chase the Doctor and Donna down a hallway, and they're like giant. And I thought that bit was a bit meh. I like the concept, but I think it looked a bit naff. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of gave me Lazarus vibes. Yeah, it just looked a bit too silly. I know it was supposed to be silly, but I know it's an episode where it's kind of bordering silly and creepy. Kind of does both fairly well on the most part. But I did think that whole chase sequence, I liked the rest of the stuff with the big arms and all that sort of stuff, and just the general stuff where they looked normal, but you could tell that they weren't that version. And then there was obviously all the moments where they met up again, and it was like, is this the right Donna? Is this the right Doctor? Which one is this? I liked all that. That was really cool. I just didn't really like the chase sequence because it was very obviously CGI, which, I mean, obviously it is, but it was very, just the way it looked, it was very obvious. And yeah, it just had this feel of a bit, oh, it's a bit, I don't know, that sort of feeling like I just don't really know how I feel about this. It was definitely interesting. It was definitely funny, but it was almost a bit too weird, I think. They make reference to Flux and the Timeless Child. Now, this was something I was very interested in because I was like, what's going to happen with Russell? Is he going to just completely, retcon, is that the word? The whole Chris Chibnall era with the Timeless Child? But no, the fake Donna, we found out in the end it's the fake Donna, starts talking about, oh, I saw into your mind, and, you weren't actually born on Gallifrey, and that whole thing, and the Doctor brings up Flux and everything, and as much as I didn't like Flux, I didn't really like the whole Timeless Child thing either. I didn't really like that whole era. I like that it's been brought up, because I don't like when, as much as I don't like these things, the Timeless Child didn't bother me as much as it did some people, but the fact that they've not just completely forgotten about it and swept it under the rug, I'm happy about that. I like that they, even if they only bring it up here and it never gets brought up again, I like that in this era of the show, this new era, the previous era, something very controversial has been brought up as it was still a thing. So I'm actually very happy about that. Donna almost being left behind, so that was a pretty heart-wrenching moment. I mean, I was pretty sure that she wasn't going to get left behind. Part of me, you know, when the doctor's like, which Donna do I take? And what did he ask? He said, oh, because they were talking about Mrs. Bean, some woman that Donna knew, like, why is her name funny? And one of the Donnas said, because it's like naming yourself after a vegetable. And then the other Donna's just like, I don't know, it just is. It's just funny. And the doctor takes that Donna. And I was like, okay, that seems like a Donna thing. Turns out that wasn't the real Donna, and the real Donna got left behind and was absolutely distraught of getting left behind. That was such a scary scene. I was pretty certain that the doctor was going to come back and save her, but it was still a pretty, you know, full-on scene. When it got like all slow motion, the explosion was coming towards us, the more and more I was thinking, is she going to get saved? Then it was pretty much the moment, you know, the whole time I was like, she's going to get saved. It was mainly when the explosion was coming towards her, and then it wasn't quite at her yet, and then it switched back to the TARDIS and the Doctor, and I was like, okay, well, clearly he's going to come back and save her now then. So it wasn't a massive thing, but it was still very emotional, and I did like it. And of course, final thing to talk about, Wilfred Mott is back. I loved seeing Wilf, Bernard Cribbins. I don't know if he appears in the next episode. I have heard that, I think from a tweet from Russell actually, and probably news back in the day when they were recording, that there were more scenes for Bernard Cribbins to film, and they weren't able to do all the scenes because unfortunately he passed away. I don't know if he's in anymore, because I mean this episode literally ends and the Doctor, Donna, and Wilf are all there, so I think he's probably going to be in at least a starting scene, but yeah, maybe we're not going to see as much of him as we would hope for, but it is what it is. You can't really do much more, but it was great seeing Wilf back. He was just like his old self, of course in a wheelchair now and looking a lot older, but he still had the energy, he still had that, he felt like the character still, so awesome to see him back again. And of course there's the kind of the climax at the end of what happened when they got back to London, and some weird stuff was going on, things were blowing up, a plane crashed, that was all pretty crazy. That's going to play into the next episode, which will be the final episode of these 3 specials, and yeah, the one with the toy maker, presumably. So that's going to be very interesting. I'm excited to see what the next episode has in store. But as for this episode, what did I think? Well, I liked it. As a concept, I really, really liked it. I think it's one that I need to watch a couple more times to really love. I've seen a lot of people online say that this is one of the best Doctor Who episodes they've seen in a long time. It was very good. It was definitely very good. It had that creepy factor. It had the funny moments. I think it did go a bit too far with the funny moments sometimes, and it looked a bit naff at times. But I mean, the rest of the CGI though, of the whole ship and everything was amazing, and the budget is just crazy now with Doctor Who, or at least it looks really good. So yeah, on the whole, I did really like this episode. It was, of course, do I think it was better than the first episode, The Star Beast? In some ways, yes. I think there were some messages in The Star Beast that I didn't actually talk about at the time, you know, the whole politically stuff that, to be honest, I didn't mind, but looking back on it now, I think maybe they stepped a bit too far with that, but we're not talking about that at the moment. As an episode, I think it was probably better than The Star Beast. I didn't love it. It's not like amazing. Maybe on a couple of rewatches I'll like it more. I think it's really the general story and feel of it. Like I said, the editing was amazing. If it wasn't for the kind of silliness of the monsters, I would have honestly, this could be a classic. The silliness, mainly just that chase scene, to be honest. The rest of the stuff I don't mind. It's the chase scene that just pushes it a bit far for me. So if that's the only issue I've got with this, then yeah, honestly, I'd say this is a pretty damn good episode. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.